Good morning. We'll get started in about less than 10 seconds. Good morning. Welcome to our last SFP Directors meeting of the 23-24 school year. Cannot even believe that this whole year has gone by so fast. We want to welcome everyone to our meeting today. Next slide, please. I'm Adrienne Balcazar, and I'd like to introduce the LCAP State and Federal Programs Unit. Today, we have with us Rachel Garcia, Helen Choi, Augustine Garcia, Debbie Cano, Anita Lomeli, and Jeannie Keith. Also, we have here today Maribel Leyva, our support staff. To access today's presentation, we ask you to click on the link in the chat. This will take you directly to the slides. But if you click and use the link at the top of this slide, it will take you to our Canvas page. The presentation can be accessed through the icon as shown here, as well as the agenda and resources. The topics for today's meeting, we'll start off with the optimistic opening, and then we have a treat today. We have Janine Flores, and she's going to be presenting on Prop 28 and the updates about that. You know, we often get a lot of questions, so we're really excited to have an expert share with you the information. Also, we'll be covering equitable services, specifically with the private school consultation in the Khan app. We have the California dashboard, the local indicator deadline reminder, and then the LCAP submission and approval reminders. And last but not least, we have the FPM update. We also will end with the overview of the reminders that are important for you as you wrap up the school year. And so, you know, we have a lot of information for you today. As usual, please place your questions in the chat box and we will answer any simple questions if we can, but we will follow up with a written response in a Q&A that will be emailed to you. We are recording today's training and we'll post this on our website. Before I turn it over to our optimistic opening, I just wanted to let everyone know that we are going to try and have our meeting end today by 11. Our goal is to do that because we've been secretly told that there's going to be a fire alarm. And so so we want to make sure that we finish before that happens so that your ears won't hurt. So anyway, so like I said, we will try and finish by 11 o'clock. But if we go over, hopefully we'll have to just pause for a minute as the alarm goes off and then we'll continue. Okay, and now Anita will get us started.
You're on mute, Anita.
Okay, I said something very funny. I said maybe that alarm is going to be letting us know that summer vacation is coming sooner than later. It's just around the corner. And California is a great state that offers so much natural beauty. So not only are these pictures here on this slide breathtaking and relaxing, but they may also bring back some wonderful memories or hopes of memories to be made. So if you've been to any of these places, please let us know how many of these places you've been to and which one was your favorite in the chat. And if you haven't been to any of these places, but one of them catches your eye, go ahead and let us know which one you are going to be visiting first. And Damien's been to 4 of them. Sequoia is your favorite. Okay, I've never been to Sequoia. Yep, Tahoe offers the best of both worlds, right? Natural beauty and casinos. I love it. You were just at 4 yesterday. You were just at Joshua Tree. Okay. Yosemite is awesome. Yeah, I saw Devil's Post Pile and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. I'd like to go there. You've only been to two. Well, there's still time. There's still time. They're all here in California, probably for the most part, a day's drive or less. But the Channel Islands one, I've been to that one, and you'd have to take, the ferry over. But that was fun. Okay, and if you haven't visited any, this is a perfect opportunity coming up. Okay, well, thank you so much for your responses. And up next, we have the pleasure of introducing Janine Flores. She is here at LACO with us in the Curriculum and Instructional Services Division, and she is with the Center for Distance and Online Learning, but I know it's her greatest pleasure, Arts and STEAM. And so without further ado, welcome, Janine.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Adrienne. Pleasure to be here. Next slide. Today, we're going to go over just a quick high-level overview of, okay, that's a little fast. All right. We'll stop right there. Thank you. Overview of Prop 28, and it's called the Arts and Music in Our Schools Funding and Accountability Act, and the short acronym for that is AMS. I'm going to address the accounting and reporting, specifically the audit information versus the supplement versus a plant, and give you some resources. There's been lots of information that came out since Friday. I will try to be as up to date as possible. I even got an email yesterday, so before I turned in my slides, so let's go ahead to the next slide. Our slides today are provided by Create California. It's an advocacy organization around all students deserve equitable access to arts ed. So you see some slides from Create, as well as they're also based on the information from the California Department of Education, Prop 28 Oversight Committee. All right, next slide. Here's an overview of what this is. In November 2022, 6.9 million voters said yes to more arts and music teachers in the schools. It is a funding guarantee and accountability act to increase full-time educators to support arts, music, dance, theater, media arts, as well as visual arts in our public and charter schools. Next slide. The definition that is going to be upheld is right here. It lists all the different areas that the arts can include. This is instruction and training, supplies, materials, and arts education partnership programs in the main 5 arts disciplines, as well as the other ones expressed here. The ones I want to highlight are in media arts. I want to call out photography. I want to call out graphic arts and design, computer coding, animation, composition, script writing, film, and video. So these are some creative ways that we could add more arts to our schools. Next slide. Today, we are going to talk about the funding a little bit. To give you a high-level overview, this is annual funding. It's not going away. This is not a grant. It's not a grant for a year or 3 years. This is ongoing. It is 1% of the state's annual budget. And the estimates, it's about $112 per student. And the amounts that you have been allocated are linked on the slide. It's in your PDF that has been dropped in the chat. And these amounts were published in the February 2024 principal apportionment. You should already have them in your bank. You have 3 years to spend this funding. Okay. And you can pool your funds as well. There is an equity formula tied to it. This is more high-level stuff. So 70% of the allocation is based on your enrollment, and 30% is based on how many Title I students or low-income students that are in the schools. So the definition is by low income. Next slide. So most of our districts here in Los Angeles County fall in this category of having over 500 students. The requirements for AMS is to spend 80% of the funding on certificated or classified district employees to provide arts instruction. 20% of the funding can be used for curriculum materials and partnership programs. Only 1% can be used for administrative costs. Next slide. Also in the AMS is that each school needs to plan their program with the new funding, and they want you to ask for input from the teachers, our families, and students on what programs would best serve the students. And it is supposed to be a site-based decision, although the money is distributed by LEA. Next slide. All right, now I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty. That was your high-level overview. The information on the next slides are provided from the California Department of Education, from the Prop 28 website, which we will be sharing with you because it's a huge resource for this process. This is the first year ever, so we're learning as we go along. Next slide. So there's 3 parts. There's an expenditure plan. This is completed at the school site. It is not mandated to be publicly posted or submitted to the state. It's more of an internal document. There will be an annual report completed by the LEA. This should be board approved and submitted to the state, and we will be using the AMS portal to submit these. The annual certification is completed by the LEA, and it's not mandated to be publicly posted, but records of the certification need to be kept for the annual audit. I believe this one is the one that you only have to do every 3 years. Yes. Oh, no. Annual certification. We have just some new information about that. The LEA that did not, I'm not going to get into this. This is too much in the weeds. I apologize. The email that came in this morning, I just wanted to make sure I was doing it. The final expenditure report, though, that one it will be due in May 1st, 2026. So this first cycle of funding expenditure plan, we will report at the end of 3 years. Next slide. There is a waiver. The state can grant a waiver addressing the 80% and 20%. The LEAs have to submit a written waiver once a year, each year, every allocation year. So you can submit the waivers currently through the AMS portal. And I'm just checking my notes. The portal became live on April 15th this year, and it will remain open for submissions for the 23-24 fiscal year through May 2026. So you have 3 years to submit a waiver for this first year's apportionment. All right, next slide. This is a screenshot of the portal, just so you know. The website is also listed down below. This is where you're going to log in to submit the waiver, do the annual report, and the audit. Next slide. So the most helpful document is the audit report guide. You have a screenshot of what it looks like there, as well as the link. The annual report must be board approved and submitted to the CDE through the portal. We just saw that screenshot. And it should be posted to the LEA's website. That's just good communication with your constituents. The mandated information of this report includes the number of full-time equivalent teachers, or FTEs, classified personnel, and teaching aides, the number of pupils served, and the number of school sites providing arts education programs through the AMS funds. Yeah. The reporting, certification, and auditing processes are the same for all LEAs, including LEAs of less than 500. So we do have a couple school districts that have less than 500. On this screen, you see a screenshot of what the annual report template looks like. And then in the red side of your screen, it's just calling out what the headings are on the left side if it's hard to read. But basically, you're going to submit a paragraph narrative or a couple paragraphs narrative, your number of FTEs, your number of students, number of school sites providing arts education, and the date that the board approved your plan, and then a link to your annual report data on your website. Next slide. Now let's go into the audit information. This is a broad topic here, so hopefully we'll get here. I see some questions coming in. We'll answer them at the end. So here are the conditions of receipt of funds. You want to certify that all funds used to provide arts education programs. Again, LEAs with enrollment of 500 pupils or more, you need to ensure that 80% of the money is spent on staffing and the remaining percentage is spent on training, supplies, materials, or partner programs. Certify that the money is used to supplement funding. This is not replacing money from other sources. And certify that no more than 1% is used for administrative costs, including indirect. You'll submit an annual board report to the CDE, and then there's a link there with all this information. Let's go over the expenditure period. So there was a couple of questions around this, so I just wanted to go over it. Funds are apportioned annually and are available for use for up to 3 fiscal years. So currently we're in year 1. The money didn't drop until February. It also, this period ends June 30th of this year. But you have 3 years to spend this first year's allotment. So if you don't have a plan in place, or you haven't asked your principals or developed course codes or written job descriptions, you have some time and you can be thoughtful and do it correctly so there's no confusion. And there was an example on the screen and you can check that out if you want. So this is just information from the CDE. There was a webinar on March 14th, and then there's also one on Friday, May 17th, and it goes over some of these informations, and they're great to just watch or listen if you have any questions, as well as some slides that they provided with more in-depth explanations. Here's the financial reporting. So at the LEA level, while funding is calculated by CDE at the school site level, and the LEA is required to allocate funds to eligible school sites in the amounts calculated by the CDE, financial reporting to the CDE in compliance with the conditions of receipt of funds described above occur at the LEA level. So there is a spreadsheet from the CDE that will be in your resources showing you what each school site is allocated, but the money comes to the LEA. So we just need to make sure that the school sites are getting the appropriate amount and using the 80-20 percentage. And the accounting guidance is on there for you with the SACS resource codes. Annual certification. All right. So LEAs must annually certify that all funds will be used to provide arts education programs. There's a wonderful FAQ page. It's just been updated again last week. FAQ 26 talks specifically about the certification, and you can access it through our portal, and it's also referenced in the guide, the annual audit guide. Great. Next slide. The biggest question that I'm receiving here at LACO is around the supplement, not supplant requirement. This has been reiterated by our state superintendent, Tony Thurman, at the end of last month, just reminding school districts that the funds are used to supplement existing funding for arts education programs. Compliance with this requirement will be verified annually. And they have developed a worksheet for you. There's a screenshot of the instructions there on the right-hand side of your screen. And whenever I want to say that, give me a second. So I know that we have sunsetted some funds and we're in a dire situation financially. The money for MAMS is to expand arts programming and teachers. So moving one cost from one bucket to another bucket would probably be flagged as not in compliance with the audit. I had a specific question asked when I was preparing for this. So like, if risks were sent, can they rehire with Prop 28 funds? So this is the information. This is the FAQ question 22 regarding the supplement, not supplant. Click once. I want to just click once on the screen, please. What I want to highlight here is the funds received in the prior fiscal year. So you need to show that there's more FTEs this year than the previous year. One more click. And then also it says to seek guidance from your legal counsel. And the CDE has been very vocal in saying, seek your legal counsel on interpreting the language of the Prop 28 or the AMS funds. So that is what the state is saying. All right. Now here's where you want to get your pens ready or take some screenshots. So go ahead and next slide. So I'm on this website every day. The website is CDE Prop 28 website. You can link to all of these other links here, except for the last one. The financial and audit requirements page is there for Prop 28, as well as the FAQ pages that has just been updated as well. And if you haven't done so, go ahead and open up your email and send a blank email to join Prop 28 at mlist.cde.ca.gov. They support your fiscal questions as well as programmatic questions. I've sent 2 questions this week. I've gotten a response the same day. They've been very responsive to specific questions and very helpful. So go ahead and join the listserv, and that you can also email the CDE. The email to ask your questions is on the website as well. So at this time, I'm going to pause and take see if I can answer any questions for you all.
Great, thank you. Thank
thank
you.
you,
So
Adrienne.
we'll start with a question from Anjanette. It says, would you please provide clarification on arts music program that were previously funded with one-time funds, for example, ESSER, as temporary programs, rather than eliminate these teacher or courses? Can it be funded with Prop 28, therefore not supplant?
I would love to offer clarification on that, but I haven't gotten any clarification from the CDE, unfortunately. From my understanding and how we've been interpreting the law is that any funds that have been used the prior year for the arts education was in place. And if you use the ESSER funds and now you're going to use Prop 28 funds, that would be supplanting. So that is the interpretation from the superintendent, the state superintendent, and the author of the bill. Now, we haven't seen any of this actually happen yet from the CDE. We're still waiting for some more firm guidance. I wish I had better answers for you all, but it's been messy. We're having growing pains here. The same with the COVID money that's being sunsetted. A lot of teachers were hired through that.
Okay, so we will be adding these questions to our Q&A. So we do have some time when we respond. If you get any answer from CDE, we can include that. Okay, next question. Should the expenditure plan go to the board as an information item?
Definitely, that would be best practice. We want our board to be informed so they can communicate with their constituents, and that there's just transparency. That's just best practice. Is it required? No.
Right, so that's the next question. So do they need to be board approved? So the answer is no. Okay.
The plan needs to be board approved. The expenditure report, I would put it in front of the board for sure. On the Prop 28 FAQ page, there's a whole chart. I think it's question 23 that explains what is required by the state and what is required by the sites.
Thank you. Let's see. What is the function of the waiver?
The function of the waiver is to eliminate that 80-20% requirement. So, for example, if a school district can't hire the FTEs because there's a lack of qualified teachers, they can say, we're going to spend our money in this fashion, or we're going to work on building our curriculum or inventory this year. So, and get ready for hiring the next fiscal year. That would be an appropriate waiver amount. And it's specifically about that 80-20 split, 80% going to hiring, staffing, 20% for supplies, materials, or programs. So if you want more clarification on that, there was a webinar in March. The CDE has the slides there as well as a recording. I found that one very helpful to explain the waiver process.
Okay.
And this form is really simple. It's a narrative form.
Okay. And then there's another question by the same person. I'm not quite sure, Wendy, if this is in connection with that or separate, but it says number of total FTEs or number of FTEs funded by the grant.
Number of FTEs supporting arts education. So we're looking at the prior years. So last year would be 22, 23. How many arts, music, theater, dance teachers did you have in 22, 23 school year? If you had 10, and then in 23, 24, you had 12, that shows growth. That would be compliant and good to go.
Okay. Do the plans need to be board approved or just the annual report?
Just the report needs to be board approved, but again, best practice would be to let the board know what the plan is and show how the community has provided input.
Okay. Does anyone have the link to the upcoming May training? Is that,
I will, when we close here, I'll poke around and see where the next training is from the CDE and see if there's a link available. Drop it in the
okay,
chat.
it says if those Art Prop 28 meetings were recorded, it would be great to have the links. So
Great. Yeah, on the previous slide is a link to the LACO's Prop 28 resources. Everything will be on that Arts Ed Funding website. We kept the title broad, Arts Ed Funding, rather than specific to Prop 28, but any LACO resources are going to go there. We're working on finalizing our recording from the May 1st event that we held, and we'll get that information up there with some examples from our local school districts on what they're doing with their funding and how they're getting input.
okay. By what date does the annual report need to go to board? And by what date does the report need to be submitted through AMS?
Okay, they just answered this. Annual report. It says to submit it by July 31st, 2024. So I'm reading an email from the Prop 28 inbox from the CDE. I have this as a resource, Adrienne, so I'm going to share this with you,
Okay.
as well as the slides from Friday's CDE webinar. I have that. This just came into me today. So I'll
Okay,
share
great.
those with you. Maybe you can use those as a
We can
resource.
send them out. We can send, great. Okay. The next question. So to clarify the plan, just so to clarify the plan, what is being approved by the board and what needs to be posted on the website? Is it the same thing?
Okay. Yeah, I would just keep it the same document. Just make it simple. Yeah, I'm gonna just yep.
Okay. And then the deadline for board approval?
Well, since the annual report's due to the state by July 31st, I'd probably get the board approval by the beginning of July. Just
Okay. Do we have to wait for the waiver to be approved first in order to work with a partner?
that's a wonderful question. I would assume so. Yeah, I don't know what the turnaround time is. I know waivers have been submitted. I haven't heard of any being approved yet. I apologize, everybody. There's so many moving parts to this. So I would not move ahead. My advice, interpreting the funding act, would be wait till you get approval before you do anything. I would hate for a school district to have to send money back because things weren't spent accordingly. I'd proceed more with caution. And
Okay. Is there a template we can use to develop a plan for Prop 28 funds?
yes, there is. Create California has some toolkit. See if I can find it for you, and we'll drop it in the chat. That's been the most helpful.
Great.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Who should complete this report?
Well, if you have a VAPA coordinator, that would be a good place. It usually falls under Ed Services. So an assistant superintendent could also be in charge of this, or a team.
Okay. And then let's see, I got my answer. Okay. What reports need to be board approved? I'm not sure if you covered that or
Yeah.
restate it.
Okay, no problem. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is what we need to know, right?
Right.
Okay, school site plan, expenditure plan is internal. That does not need to be sent to the state. Okay, and you don't need to post it. The annual report must be board approved and submitted to the CDE. Okay, and that's the one that's due July 31st. That's the one that where you're going to report the number of FTEs, students served, and what school sites. The annual certification, it's going to be available through the portal soon. You must certify annually that all funds will be used to provide arts education. I would refer to frequently asked questions number 26. Also FAQ 21 for more information on this. The certification must be kept for auditing purposes, but is not required to be posted on the LEA webpage. And the expenditure report, LEAs are required to report to the CDE the amount of unexpended AMS funds. And again, that's that 3-year cycle. So we're not going to need to address that till 2026.
Okay. Please clarify if the plan or report needs to be board approved. So I'm hoping you did that.
Hope so. Yeah, the board does need to approve it. It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it says,
annual report needs to be approved.
okay. Let's see. Expenditure plans are to be completed at the site level, question mark. Can it be completed at district level?
Yes, it can. The main thing that I would advise here is that if we are sharing funds across sites, like we have an itinerant teacher in the elementary schools, and that teacher is at site A for 50% of the time and site B 50% of the time, that the funding reflected at both sites show 50%. We don't want one school site paying for more than when they're actually there. So just making sure the funding codes match the percentage of time on campus.
Okay. Let's see. I think you've answered this, but does the site plan, expenditure plan need to be board approved locally?
The site plan, that's more of an internal district level. A lot of districts are compiling them together just so that there's clear communication to the board. And I didn't hear the second part, Adrian, or I forgot.
It says, or let's see. Let me go back.
Thank you.
It just has locally. So
okay. Yeah, the annual report is what needs to be board approved and shared to the public. And that would be what I would focus on for the public facing document.
okay, and we have 3 more questions. If you don't have a July board meeting, can the board date be for the next board meeting or for approval, or does it have to be in advance?
I don't know. I would email the CDE that question specifically. And like I said, they've been very responsive lately. And I can drop that email to send that question in the chat. And I would just ask that directly. That's a great question. I'm going to need to send that probably too, because I know I'm going to have more. And hopefully you can see on my screen my email. So if you do have a specific question, please reach out.
Great. Okay, some sites have lower funding than others based on the funding profile. If it's not enough to pay full-time staff, the 80%, can it be used to pay for an after-school arts program staff?
Yes, it can. It just needs to be attached to attendance somehow. We need to show that their kids are going to class and they're getting a grade. That is explained in the FAQ page from the CDE if you want to see further guidance for that one.
Okay. The annual report in the AMS portal only offers the option to submit. Is there a blank form we can use to create the report, obtain board approval, and then submit?
They don't have a blank template yet. I've asked for that. And as the county office lead for arts ed, the other 58 counties and we've requested that we have some blank templates to share so we can support our school districts, because you have access to the portal, but I do not. So we're working on getting those from the CDE, and they've been very responsive to that. They're working on it.
Okay, I think that answers the last question about the template being provided to LEAs. So, okay. Well, thank you. Oh my gosh. See, this is why we needed to have you here because there are so many questions and we really appreciate your time and joining us today. And with all the contact information, everyone, you can reach out to her and continue the conversation. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. I hope I answered your question. If I didn't, please send me an email, give me a call, follow me on social. Thank you for all you were doing and have a great summer.
Thank you. Okay, and now we will continue with Augustine.
Wow. I just need to say, wow. I think Dr. Slater Sanchez is right. We need our own Prop 28 meeting, right? Good morning and happy Thursday, everyone. So today I'll be going over private schools consultation under the Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA. So let's start with private schools consultation requirement under the ESSA. And it states that to ensure timely and meaningful consultation, an LEA must consult with appropriate nonprofit private school officials during the design and development of the LEA's programs. The LEA and private school officials must both have the goal of reaching agreement on how to provide equitable and effective programs for eligible nonprofit private school children. Timely and meaningful consultation is a requirement of statute. It needs to be ongoing with adequate notices to the private school officials. We need to establish clear guidelines for how services will be provided and also include discussion of key issues of the program or programs. Consultation allows for all parties to express their views and have their views considered. And very important, establish a positive partnership and a productive working relationship. So as a quick review, here are the programs where equitable services can apply. I'm sure you're aware of which programs your LEA is receiving funding for and is required to consult regarding those programs and equitable services. Another requirement under ESSA is that the results of the consultation shall be transmitted to the state ombudsman through the California Consolidated Application and Reporting System annually during the CARS spring release, which is open right now. So let's talk about the required documentation for private school consultation. So the LEA must maintain in its records and provide to the state educational agency a written affirmation signed by officials of each participating nonprofit private school. And in a bit, we'll take a look at what some of that documentation can look like. That written affirmation per ESSA must provide the option for private school officials to indicate that their belief that A, the meaningful consultation required has occurred, B, timely and meaningful consultation has not occurred, or C, that the program design is not equitable with respect to eligible nonprofit private school children. You see the white codes there in blue, and those are the codes that you'll enter in CARS when completing the nonprofit private school consultation page. So keep in mind, a lot of LEAs might ask, well, what happens if we choose code 4 because of the private school official's belief? Or if we choose code 2 because the private school never responded? Well, per CDE, there's no punitive action. It's just to note what the LEA and the state ombudsman can do to revise the process to make it timely and meaningful under the requirement of the law. Just remember to always have the correct evidence on file. So here we have some screenshots of the CDE's intent to participate and written affirmation. You can access these forms at the link provided on the slide. Most districts use some sort of intent to participate form to make that initial contact with private schools. The consultation process is initiated annually when the district reaches out to private schools to explain the intent and purposes of the applicable federal programs that their students and staff may be eligible to participate in. It's important to obtain a copy of the intent to participate form from each private school, whether or not they intend to participate in equitable services, and also include a deadline by which they need to respond. You would then begin the consultation process with private schools that have indicated their intent to participate. Districts are required again to maintain in its record a written affirmation signed by each nonprofit private school official to document that timely and meaningful consultation has occurred. Remember, private school officials must have the option to indicate their belief that timely and meaningful consultation has or has not occurred, or that the program designed for private school students is or isn't equitable. So before we jump in and take a look at what consultation looks like on CARS, let's revisit this consultation timeline that Rachel shared earlier this school year. This sample private school consultation timeline has been adapted from a CDE timeline. The link to the CDE sample is included at the bottom of this slide for reference. So if you take a look at May and June, you'll see that the Spring CONAP will include the nonprofit private school consultation page, and that the CONAP with the nonprofit private school consultation page included is due by June 30th. It is also suggested that LEAs finalize the actions related to programs and services for next school year. Okay, so let's take a look at how this looks like in CARS. The CARS consultation form captures, or better yet, summarizes the 4 steps of the reporting process. Step 1 is the intent to participate. Did the consultation actually occur? Step 2 is your goal of reaching an agreement. This is your discussions, your ongoing meetings, etc. Step 3 is the documentation that you're maintaining, whether it's your intent to participate notices, documents, letters, emails, certified letters, meeting notes, call logs, or that written affirmation with their signature and belief. And step 4 is reporting that belief of the nonprofit private school official. Now, this sample here has your ideal all Ys and Y1s. But what about a scenario where perhaps an agreement wasn't reached, or we don't have a signed affirmation, or we have consultation and an agreement, but the private school official believes the program is not equitable? So attached to this slide is a link that will take you to 4 different scenarios provided by CDE where this might occur and how to go about reporting it. Remember, there's no punitive action for choosing codes 2, 3, or 4. Just ensure that you're retaining all documentation that shows your good faith attempts at establishing that productive working relationship that we discussed earlier. So adding a school, when you add a school to the nonprofit private school consultation page on CARS, it's more than likely that this is because of your Title I Part A program and there being eligible students attending nonprofit private schools that are outside of your LEA's boundaries. So you see, the CARS pre-populates the nonprofit private schools with the current private school affidavit located in the boundary of each LEA. The LEA is required to add all the nonprofit private schools outside of the LEA's boundary for the purpose of the Title I Part A consultation requirements. A non-unified LEA must add all nonprofit private schools serving the LEA's grade levels and located in the LEA's boundary if they're not pre-populated. And just a reminder, the private school affidavit filing period is October 1st through the 15th. However, the filing system remains open throughout the school year to accommodate new schools. And to end this section, we've also included a sample consultation checklist with today's materials to assist you with this process. It basically combines all the steps and components shared in this section into a checklist format. And now I'll hand it over to Debbie, who'll be going over some reminders regarding local indicators.
Thank you, Augustine. Good morning, friends. I just have a quick reminder for you. And we know we have shared this information before and that you've heard it, but reminders are always good, especially given how much you all are juggling at this time of the school year. So just letting you know that LEAs are required to present their local indicator results as part of a non-consent item at a regularly scheduled public meeting to their governing board or body at the same meeting in which the LCAP is adopted. So the reporting window for the California School Dashboard coordinators to report their 23-24 local indicators will open on June 3rd of 2024, which is just really soon, coming up soon. That's earlier than in the past. The 2024 dashboard reporting window will be open from June 3rd through July 31st. There are local indicators that will be reported. These are the local indicators that are going to be reported on the 24 dashboard. And this includes reporting the date that the 24 local indicator results were reported to the governing board. So you want to know that board date, and it needs to happen before July 1st and at the same meeting that the LCAP is adopted. So we just want to make sure that we stress that information and this June 3rd to July 31st window for reporting. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here to help you. And now we're going on to Helen and Rachel for the LCAP submission and approval reminders.
Good morning, and thank you, Debbie. I really can't believe it's already the end of May. And I know that many of you in this room are also very busy preparing for the LCAP adoption. So Rachel and I today will go over some of the LCAP submission process and to provide you with a few approval reminders. So we want to start with the reminder of the LCAP components to get ready for the submission. So this year is a little different from last year in that the annual update is a separate document from the 24-25 plan to close out the 21-24 cycle. So the following components must be provided in this order. So this includes the budget overview for parents, the 23-24 annual update, the 24-25 LCAP template, the action tables, and finally the instructions. So the components of the LCAP must be posted on the LEA's website as one document assembled in the order, again, as shown on this slide. So here this slide highlights the steps for board adoption and submission for the LCAP. So first, the LEA's local governing board must hold a public hearing for both the LCAP and the budget. So it is also important to note that the agenda for the public hearing must be posted at least 72 hours before the public hearing. Then the governing board must adopt the LCAP and the budget on or before July 1st at a separate public meeting held after and not on the same day as the public hearing. It's also important to note, as Debbie shared, that the LEAs are required to present their local indicator results to the governing board or the body at the same meeting in which the LCAP is adopted. The LEA must then submit the board-adopted LCAP to the County Office of Education, so that's us, LACO, no later than 5 days after the adoption of for review and approval. And charter schools must submit their adopted LCAP to the LA County Office of Education by July 1st. All LEAs in LA County is required to submit the board-adopted LCAP to LACO through the LCAP system. So in the next few slides, I will share a quick review of how to submit the adopted LCAP through our LACO LCAP system. And again, I'm giving you this reminder, right? Because we want all LEAs and charter schools in LA County to submit the LCAP using the LACO LCAP system. And again, within 5 days of the adoption for the school districts and charter schools before July 1st. So, and if your LEA does not use the LCAP system to develop your LCAP, you'll upload a PDF of your complete LCAP in the order that's shared earlier and also here listed, which again includes all the way from budget overview to end with the instructions, okay, in a single file with all those components in this specific order. Okay, so this information is for non-LCAP users. So we want to, and this again is a quick overview for the steps on how to upload and submit a PDF of your completed LCAP. So you're going to start by logging into the LCAP system. And if you don't already have an account, then you need to register as a new user at elcap.laco.edu. It's also on this slide. Once you are in the system, you'll click on Manage Plans, which is located on the left menu bar under LCAP. On the next screen, you'll see you will select the orange button that says Add New Plan, as you can see in step 3. Once you add a new plan, this title page that you see in step 4 will pop up. You will need to complete the required fields on this page, which includes the plan title and year, and date of the adoption, and the LEA type and name, as well as LEA contact information. For the plan year, you be sure to select 2024-25, and at the bottom of the title page, you'll see where you can upload the PDF file of your complete LCAP. The system will only allow you to upload one file, so it's important that all those components, again, are included in the correct order as previously mentioned. At the bottom of the title page, you will need to click on the box that says, do you want to use the PDF plan upload? And this will allow you to choose your file to upload. Once you've selected your file, you will then click on the green cloud button to upload your file. And once the upload completes, you've confirmed that the file replaces the Choose File button. Then the most important part, remember, you need to click the Save button. When the plan has been completed and adopted by the local governing board, the LEA will officially submit the plan to LACO by clicking the orange Submit button located in the plan index at the top of the screen. Once again, this was a brief overview on how to upload your LCAP for your non-LACO ELCAP users. So for LEAs that do use the LACO ELCAP system to develop your LCAP, once all parts are completed, you can push the submit button and the plan index at the top screen of the plan to officially submit your plan to LACO. For school districts, after the plan is submitted, the status in the ELCAP will change from draft to submitted. Your superintendent will then receive an email request to authorize the submitted plan. Once the superintendent has authorized the submission, the status will change to authorized, and the formal review process will begin. As a reminder, for school districts partaking in the pre-reviews, please do not submit the plan in the ELCAP. Email the PDF of the draft of your draft plan to your assigned LCAP coordinator. You can download a PDF of the plan by clicking on the PDF download button located in the plan index. And again, remember that the pre-review process is for districts only. Thank you, and now I'll hand it over to Rachel to continue with this section.
Thank you, Helen. Hello, everyone. So next, we just have a few reminders regarding the LCAP approval criteria and process. So when formally reviewing the LCAP, there are 4 criteria that must be met for approval. And so the first is that the LEA has adhered to the State Board of Education adopted template and has followed all instructions for completing the template. And so just as another reminder, the prompts are for the reader and the instructions are for the LCAP writer. The second criteria is that the LEA budget for the upcoming fiscal year includes expenditures that are sufficient to implement the actions that are included in the adopted LCAP. Then the third criteria is that the LEA has demonstrated how it is meeting its requirement to increase or improve services for students who are low income, English learners, or foster youth. And then finally, the fourth criteria is that the LEA has made the required calculations to determine whether there is a carryover requirement in its supplemental and concentration grant funds for unduplicated pupils, and then also describes the planned uses in the LCAP to meet its minimum proportionality percentage. Now, as far as the approval process, Education Code 52070 provides the requirements and the timeline for the LCAP approval process for school districts. So the LCAP must be adopted by the local governing board by July 1st, and then submitted to the county office within 5 days of adoption. The review and approval process begins following the submission of the board-adopted LCAP. On or before August 15th, the County Office of Education may request clarification in writing. And then the district must then respond in writing to the request for clarification within 15 days. Within 15 days of receiving the response from the school district, the County Office of Education may provide recommendations in writing for amendments to the LCAP. The district must then consider the recommendations in a public meeting within 15 days of receiving the recommendations. And the deadline for the county office to approve the LCAP is October 8th. And then it's also important to note that the district's budget cannot be approved until the LCAP is approved. And so next, we just wanted to share a few reminders regarding the LCAP posting requirements. And so remember, all LEAs must post their board adopted and county office approved LCAP on their website. And so this slide highlights the applicable education codes related to the posting requirements for school districts and charter schools. So for both school districts and charter schools, the LCAP must be posted as one single document with all of the required components and in the order shown on slide 46. And so again, the budget overview for parents would be first, then the 23-24 annual update, then the 24-25 LCAP template, which includes the plan summary, engaging educational partner section, goals and actions, and the increased or improved services section. Next would be the action tables, and then finally the LCAP template instructions. It's also important to note that school districts are also required to post the LCAPs of any charter schools that they authorized on their district website per Education Code 52065A. And so here we just wanted to share some new posting requirements related to the LCAP that became effective January 1st, 2024 through SB 609. And so based on this change in Ed Code, school districts and charter schools are going to have to post their board-adopted, county office-approved LCAP on the California dashboard. And so this new requirement applies to school districts, charter schools, and county offices of education. And so please note that the CDE has not shared the timeline for when LEAs will post their LCAP on the dashboard, but we just wanted to put it on your radar, and we'll be sure to share more information when that. And so that concludes this section. I will now turn it over to Adrian.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay, so well, we'll be close to our 11 o'clock ending time. I wanted to go over the program improvement monitoring update. So to look forward to the 24-25 school year, what we do know is that CDE has confirmed that most likely this week or next week, and I guess if you know otherwise, you can put in the chat, but they will be sending out the information to the districts and charters that were selected for an FPM for next year. They'll be providing the schedule of dates and the schools and programs to be reviewed, and this will be sent to the FPM review coordinator. And then in June, you can expect the 24-25 FPM instruments to be posted on the CDE compliance monitoring webpage, as well as they have, CDE has confirmed the FPM training, which will be held beginning on Wednesday, July 31st through Tuesday, August 6th. And so if you are being selected for FPM, you will be emailed the information about the FPM training. But if you are not being selected and you would like to attend, if you wouldn't mind emailing our sfp@laco.edu website and let us know your email and your name, and then I can make sure that in July, once we get that registration information, we can pass that information to you so you can attend. And so we'll kind of be the liaison between you and the CDE. And so again, you want to make sure that you have access to that training. Okay, now looking at, I know in March, I talked about the FPMs for this year that were happening. And so now all FPMs have taken place in LA County. There in Cycle B, there were 9 reviews, and in Cycle D, there was also 9 reviews. And so compiling all of the findings in the various programs, I've compiled here. And again, this is just for LA County. And so what we see is a high number in compensatory education, which is, Title I, and English learner programs. And, close behind is the EE. And so again, just looking at these, there's some high numbers here. And so we want to make sure that everyone is aware of the instruments and the evidence that's required. And so we want to make sure that you have everything in place. I want to go on the next slide. What I did is after analyzing all of the information, I came up with the top 2 for CE and also the top 2 for English learner program. So the number 1 for compensatory education was the allowable use of funds. And again, this is making sure that the charges and the expenditures are reasonable, necessary, and allocable in accordance with the statute, regulations, and the program. And so these are common reasons why there were findings. So First, the LEA did not upload the requested explanation and clarification on how the Title I was being utilized in the Title I program. Also, the LEA did not submit invoices or other backup documentation for the requested sample of expenditures that were using Title I funding. Also, expenditures were not supported in the school plans, so there was expenditures in the fiscal records, but it was not reflected in the SIPSA. And then also too, they found that Title I Part A funded employees through their were working 100% of their time on non-Title I program. So again, there was a discrepancy between what their funding source and their duty statement and what they actually were doing. And then also too, employees funded with Title I Part A funds were not budgeted in the school plan. So again, whether it's materials and services or personnel, all of that needs to be in the plan. So again, reflecting on your practices, your internal controls, is everyone clear at the school sites and at the charter schools of the requirements and the allowable use of funds? The second one was CE 15, and this one is looking at the time and effort specifically. So what's the duty statement for those employees that are being paid for out of Title I, and is it in alignment with the Title I, your Title I program, but just is it allowable as well? And so some common findings were that the LEA did not submit the time and effort documentation for requested employees. The LEA did not submit their procedures. There has to be, it's part of your internal controls. There needs to be procedures on how the time and effort is taking place at your organization. Also, interviews, when they interviewed employees, they said that what they did, and it was not in alignment what their PAR and their time and effort records showed. And then also there were some districts that did not have time and effort maintained on certain activities or certain personnel. And so therefore there was, it was void. So these are some common findings with time and effort. So again, reflecting on your own process, your own internal controls, and making sure that everyone that is being paid for out of Title I is very clear about what is required and providing that support. When we look at the EL program, EL 10 was number one, reclassification. Then this is where the ELA must reclassify English learners to proficient in English by using the process and to monitor them for a minimum of 4 years and to ensure correct classification, placement, and additional academic support. And so some of the findings included that the reclassification criteria did not meet the minimum requirements. There was no evidence of monitoring the reclassified students. Also, cumulative records revealed that the reclassification records were incomplete. And then the RFEP monitoring records for students with disabilities did not offer any type of intervention or other support. So these are similar, some findings in EL 10, which was a high number of findings. And then the next one is ELD, EL 14. So again, with this is as part of your instructional program, all identified ELs must receive a program of ELD instruction, which shall include designated and integrated ELD. And so some findings were evidence did not meet the minimum legal requirements. And so basically what this means is that there was some, besides all the legal requirements, is to provide designated and integrated. And so there were some findings of some districts that were not providing designated. Also, designated ELD program demonstrated some inconsistencies in delivery of instruction, materials used, the grouping of English learners for instruction, monitoring of student progress and English language proficiency, inconsistencies in instructional strategies used, and then the staff understanding of the pedagogy. And then lastly, ELD program was evaluations were incomplete. So again, looking at your English learner program, again, looking, are these some common, perhaps, would you have some common findings of these as well? Okay, some last minute reminders. So we know right now that the CONAP, the spring release, is happening right now. And just remember that your obligation to certify, the deadline is June 30th. And then you can follow the timelines there. Also, your expanded learning opportunities program, again, the deadline there, June 30th for the expenditures reporting. And then the LCAP, as Helen and Rachel went over all of those deadlines and the local indicators as well. And then the Prop 28, as Janine Flores had gone over those particular deadlines. And then lastly, we have CalPADS end of year, the 1, 2, 3, and 4, and looking and making sure that your CalPADS people are clear about those deadlines. And, you know, I think they're getting stricter as time goes on. So if you miss those deadlines, it could be disastrous consequences. So again, keeping this all in the forefront, feel free to share with those people that it pertains to. And that way everyone has common knowledge and an understanding of what's due. And so, as we end this meeting, want to remind you that we will continue next year. We will be sending out those meeting dates through our listserv. So if you received an email today, you definitely will be hearing from us. But if you have new folks coming on board, please have them follow this link and subscribe to our mailing list. And, you know, we want to be able to inform everyone as we move forward in next school year. And then also we have on the next slide, we want to take this time at the end of the year to congratulate anybody that has been promoted and is perhaps moving on to bigger and better things for retirements. So I wanted to do a personal shout out to Dr. Diana Kennart from Bassett that's retiring, as well as Dr. Eileen Harback, and she's retiring as well. And anybody else that is retiring, thank you, Jennifer. And also, are there any lotto winners? Hopefully in September when we meet again, we'll have some lotto winners. So, but again, it's been a pleasure to support you and to be here to answer all your questions. And we want to wish you a very happy summer and a happy close of the school year. And then moving on, is there anybody else that would like to share? If you're leaving us, please let us know. And, you know, we want to celebrate you because we know this is hard work and it's not getting easier. And so again, we, you know, really rely on the joint partnership we have with all of you. And then moving on. Oh, wonderful, Nadia. Congratulations. Okay. Oh, Francisco Mesa, you're retiring. Congratulations. Wonderful. Wonderful. Ah, Janet Simons from Palmdale. Congratulations. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy for so many people. All right. Thank you. Okay, moving on as we end, we instead of doing our end of meeting survey, this is the time where we really need everyone to do an end of the year survey. It's really short, really simple. We know time is of the essence, and so we really would love to hear your feedback in terms of for next year in our planning. Do we want to have do we want to have Zoom meetings? Do we need to have some perhaps that are in person? And so just hearing your thoughts on your needs, we want to make sure that your needs are met and doing what's best for all of you. And I think we lost the PowerPoint. And so for the next slide.
Helen is gonna come over and help me right now.
Okay. And thank you, Anita. As we all grow, we are all, you
Yeah.
know, broadening our horizons. And I want to thank Anita for it's not, as any of you know, it's not as easy as you think.
Helen has arrived.
I could sing and dance, but my girls say don't sing, so we'll just be patient here.
Thank you all for your support. Have a great summer.
Thank you, thank you. And then also to, I think, what else did we have on our slide deck? After the end of the year, and we will be emailing everyone, like probably by tomorrow, the links that that Janine Flores sent, and it will also include the end of the year survey as well. So rest assured, we'll get that information. And okay, and then let's see what else is next.
Are you able to see the slide with the QR code?
Yes.
Oh, perfect.
Mhm.
Thank you, Helen.
Yes. And then I believe the next slide is questions, put them in the chat. We'll get back to you with that. And then also to our contact information, which you know. And so I guess we could go back to the QR code and have that for people. And again, I want to thank you for a really wonderful year, and we look forward to next year. And I think with those of districts that have been identified for FPM, we're definitely going to reach out, and we will, you know, want to be more in partnership with what support do you need specifically, so that we can have those findings be reduced. And so for next year. So anyways, that's it. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here and to support all of you. Thank you.